Let's get to our 5 headlines. All right, it's been announced by the debate commission that Trump and Biden will have their mics muted during the last debate this Thursday. This Thursday night, they're going to be debating, final debate, I believe. And they're going to have their mics muted, not for the entire debate, which actually I wouldn't maybe be such a terrible thing. But no, while one is speaking and giving their 2-minute spiel, the other one's going to have their mics muted. Now, Trump has protested this decision and said that it's very unfair, quote unquote. And a lot of conservatives are upset about it because they see it as a something that's being done specifically targeting Trump, which of course it is. And and they see it as something that's supposed to hurt Trump, which of course it is. But my point is that although it is targeted at Trump, I don't think it's going to hurt him. I'm actually in favor of this. I think it's going to help Trump. My biggest frustration in the last debate was that Trump would not just shut up and let Biden speak and bury himself, metaphorically speaking, with his own words. We know that Biden struggles to string together 2 minutes worth of coherent, of 2 minutes worth of coherence in general. We know he struggles to do that, just as I clearly struggle to do it too. So let him do it. When you only give him 30 seconds to speak, he's going to sound like he's really with it. Give him the full 2 minutes. That's good strategy. Now, if Trump had a certain measure of discipline and self-control, then he could just do that without the mics being muted. But he doesn't. So that's why it helps to have the mics muted. So I think in the end it's gonna help Trump. Although of course, in reality, he's right. It is an unfair decision. The fact that it's targeted at him. And also, this is not really how a debate's supposed to work. I'm talking from a purely political optics sort of standpoint. I think it will help Trump ultimately, but it does defeat the purpose, the actual real purpose of a debate, which is you're supposed to debate. There's supposed to be a back and forth. That's what a debate is. All this stuff, these things we call debates, none of them are debates. They don't qualify. Think about if you've ever been in a real debate with, if you're a human being, you probably have, with just another person like in your living room. This is not how it works. It isn't, well, okay, I will state my case for 2.5 minutes and then you can go and then we'll go back. No, then we'll have 30 seconds for rebuttal and no, you just go back and forth and you have a conversation. That's what a debate should be. But that's never going to happen, so we make do, I suppose. Number 2, speaking of Trump, he has picked up an unexpected endorsement. Another famous rapper, 50 Cent, has come out in support of Trump. So you got Kanye West, 50 Cent. Maybe they'll have a collab next in time for the election. Who knows? 50 Cent on Instagram posted a screenshot of Biden's tax plan showing that people in his tax bracket will have to pay 62% of their income. And he had this caption. He said, "What the F? Vote for Trump. I'm out." Or, first of all, a lot of emojis here, so this is upsetting me right now. I've already made my point here, but if you're watching this right now on YouTube or something, the emojis, do they help enhance the point at all? He says, "I'm out of New York. The Knicks never win anyway." And he's got a little emoji of a guy running. Yeah, I get it. You've already told me you're leaving. I understand what leaving is. I don't need an illustration. You know what leaving is? Are you sure? Because I'll draw you a picture. So no, I don't need that. Anyway, he says, "I'm out of New York. The Knicks never win anyway. I don't care. I don't care if Trump doesn't like black people. 62%. Are you out of your effing mind?" Now, obviously, the left is having a fit over this, but you know what? Leaving aside the emojis and everything, this is a very normal, very adult reason to vote a certain way. People on the left are upset at 50 Cent and say, "Oh, you're so selfish. You're so selfish that you want to keep your own income." What, you're saying you don't want to work in order to give more than half of your income to the government so they can squander it? You selfish bastard. No, normal adults who work for a living, have responsibilities, maybe have family to take care of, we prefer to keep as much of our own money as we can. Not because we're a bunch of Ebenezer Scrooges. Maybe we are. That's our own business. That doesn't have to be the reason. It's just that this is why I don't go to work every day. I mean, if I had a real job, I wouldn't go to work every day feeling like, okay, I gotta do a good job here so that I can support the system and support the government. No. This is a normal thing. And of course, the problem is a lot of the people on the left, especially the activists and so forth, who get upset at those of us who want to keep our own money and who don't want to pay, for example, 62% in taxes, which you are out of your effing mind, to quote 50 Cent, if you support that. But a lot of people don't understand this. They don't pay anything in taxes because they don't have jobs. The activists who are out on the street every single day, it's pretty clear they don't have jobs. So they just, they got mommy and daddy taking care of them. Either they're real mommy and daddy or mommy and daddy government taking care of them. So they just don't understand how demoralizing it is. And as I've said before, I don't think anyone, even if you have a job and you pay taxes, even if you pay a lot of taxes, you still don't really understand how bad the taxes are and how demoralizing it really is or should be until you have physically written checks to the government. If it's all W-2 withholding, you still don't really understand how bad it actually is. So you got to write that check, send it in, watch the money leave your bank account. Okay, number 3, Disney has added racism warnings to a number of its classic films. Disney explains it this way. This is on their Disney Plus streaming service, I believe. It says, as part of our ongoing commitment to diversity and inclusion, we are in the process of reviewing our library and adding advisories to content that includes negative depictions or mistreatment of people or cultures. We can't change the past, but we can acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward together to create a tomorrow that today can only... Hang on a second. Learn from it and move forward together to create a tomorrow that today can only dream of. Oh my good Lord. This is Disney we're talking about, so I guess I have to expect stuff like this. Create a tomorrow that today can only dream of. That is... All right. I'll just let that go. Then they go on to explain why many of their past films are horrifically racist and offensive. This is what they say about Peter Pan, for example. And my kids love this movie, so I read this one with interest. Because my kids love it. It wasn't my favorite growing up, but my kids, so I've watched it with my kids a bunch of times. I never noticed really anything offensive about it. To me, it just seemed like it's a story about a kid who flies around and fights a pirate. But Disney, they will tell me why I should be offended by their own film. This is what they say. The film portrays Native people in a stereotypical manner that reflects neither the diversity of Native peoples nor their authentic cultural traditions. It shows them speaking in an unintelligible language and repeatedly refers to them as redskins, an offensive term. Peter and the Lost Boys engage in dancing, wearing headdresses and other exaggerated tropes, a form of mockery and appropriation of Native peoples, culture, and imagery. Well, that's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad when the magical boy who flies because of pixie dust is culturally appropriating. He should know better. If he existed, he should know better. Then the Aristocats, this is the warning. It says, the cat is depicted as a racist caricature of East Asian peoples with exaggerated stereotypical traits, such as slanted eyes and buck teeth. He sings in poorly accented English voiced by a white actor and plays the piano with chopsticks. This portrayal reinforces the perpetual foreigner stereotype, while the film also features lyrics that mock the Chinese language and culture, such as, quote, Shanghai, Hong Kong, egg foo young, fortune cookie always wrong. I've never seen Aristocats. I might have to check that out. Swiss Family Robinson. Here's the disclaimer there. The pirates who antagonize the Robinson family are portrayed as a stereotypical foreign menace. Many appear in, quote, yellow face or brown face and are costumed in an exaggerated and inaccurate manner with top-knot hairstyles, robes, and overdone facial makeup and jewelry, reinforcing their barbarism and otherness. They speak in an indecipherable language, presenting a singular and racist representation of Asian and Middle Eastern peoples. Okay. Well, that one's really important too, because you have to make sure that you portray pirates with sensitivity. You got to be very sensitive to the pirates when you're portraying them. And they are a sensitive bunch. And so that's essential. What is there to really say about this? It's obviously ludicrous and embarrassing for Disney. But if Disney, here's really my point. If Disney had the courage of its convictions, it would just get rid of these movies. It would take them out of circulation, destroy them, save our children from being corrupted by the racism and bigotry, because most kids who watch Peter Pan anyway probably can't read the disclaimer. And so now you're relying on parents to read it for them. And I can tell you, as a parent, I'm not going to read the disclaimer to my kids. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to read it. If they ask me, Daddy, what does that say? I'll say, don't worry about it. Just something stupid. Don't worry. And if I do read it, I won't be able to help myself from laughing while I read it. And that's going to send the wrong message. So my point is, don't put the ball in my court as a parent. You should just get rid of the movies. Don't stream them. Don't sell them on DVD or anything. Merchandise. Get rid of all that. But they don't want to do that. Why is that? If you've noticed, they could take that approach. That would really send the best message. And again, if these are really racist, horrible movies, then why are you choosing to? You're choosing to stream them on your own platform while you apologize. I'm so sorry for this. I'm so sorry that I'm showing you this right now as I show it to you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me while I continue doing this thing right now that I can stop doing. But they don't want to do that because they make a lot of money. They make a lot of money from some of these properties. I don't know how much they make from Aristocats, but they make a lot of money from Peter Pan, I'm sure. Especially the merchandise and the Peter Pan property and brand and all of that. So they want the money, but they still want the wokeness. So this is just performative, fake wokeness, which is the only kind of wokeness we ever get anymore, of course. Number 4, Rush Limbaugh on his show on Monday had an update on his battle with lung cancer. It wasn't a good update, but I thought his whole segment on it was pretty powerful. I can't play the whole thing because it's several minutes long, but let me play just part of it. Listen to this.
From the moment you get the diagnosis, there's a part of you every day, okay, that's it, life's over. You just don't know when. But when you get that diagnosis, I mean, that's... So during the period of time after the diagnosis, you do what you can to prolong life. You do what you can to prolong a happy life. You measure a happy life against whatever medication it takes. And at some point, do you decide, this medication may be working, but I hate the way I feel every day. This is just, I'm not there yet. But it is part and parcel of this. It's tough to realize that the days where I do not think I'm under a death sentence are over. Now, we all are, is the point. We all know that we're going to die at some point, but when you have a terminal disease diagnosis that has a time frame to it, then that puts a different psychological and even physical awareness to it.
We are all under a death sentence, he says, and that's true. That's a profound truth, one that I think most of us simply refuse to accept. Certainly we don't want to think about it. We don't want to face the implications. But Rush Limbaugh here is staring into the abyss, facing down his own mortality, his own death, and doing it with courage and dignity. And the leftist critics of his excitedly preparing to dance on his grave, reveling in his suffering. And I'm sure you've seen, if you go online and you really want to see this sort of thing, you can go find it. I don't know why you'd want to see it, but you can. But all the ones doing that, we know that most of them will not have the strength to confront their death, their impending death, the way that Rush is confronting his. And that's what makes it so stupid, by the way. So stupid to delight in another person's death or eventual death. I mean, obviously, what the people are doing with Rush Limbaugh is also evil and vile and disgusting and grotesque from a moral standpoint. But I'm talking even aside from the morality of it, it's stupid because what do you think? You're going to live forever? You don't think this is going to happen to you? You will also be dead very soon, relatively speaking. What you're doing when you delight in someone else's death and suffering, you are essentially pointing and laughing at someone while they walk down a road that you are also walking on. Or maybe a better analogy, you're on the same train as them, heading over the same cliff, and laughing as their train car goes over the edge. Well, you're in a train car just a few cars back. Your time is coming in mere moments, relatively speaking. You're going where they're going. You're under the same sentence, as he points out. So but I think it is in recognition of that. That's one of the reasons why people react this way to the death, sometimes to death, and especially to the deaths of people they don't like. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way of sort of convincing themselves or pretending that this is never going to happen to them. That death is somehow this sort of like absurd, abstract, far-off thing, and something that only happens to people they don't like. But that's not true, and they'll get a wake-up call. But anyway, a lot of dignity and courage from Rush Limbaugh, so God bless him. Number 5, finally, we talked about dignity. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Headline in the Wall Street Journal says, men's nail polish is taking off. Why now? And then the subheading says, influenced by celebrities like Bad Bunny, Harry Styles, and A$AP Rocky. I only know who one of those people are. Harry Styles is what's he from? He's a singer, right? I sort of know him. I don't know. Bad Bunny? There's a male celebrity who goes by Bad Bunny. Anyway, it says young guys nationwide are turning to nail polish, and companies are meeting the demand with muted male shades. Now, I can't read the article because it's behind the paywall, and I'm not going to pay for this kind of content, but I don't really need to read it. I can simply answer the question being posed in the headline, and by saying it's not happening. You're asking why it's happening now? It's not. It's not taking off. This is what we call an attempt at a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the media does this all the time, especially when it comes to masculinity and those sorts of things. They're always finding these absurd, effeminate styles that like two guys are wearing, and they put out these headlines and saying, men everywhere are doing this. Look, men everywhere are wearing lipstick and yoga pants. How did this style take off? No, it didn't. You just want it to, you freaks. That's the difference. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.